Okay. So this evening for the CIP interview, we have Mr. Mohammed with us, and I'm going to have an interview with him, and he's going to elaborate on some questions that I will ask him regarding CIP. And Mr. Mohammed, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Yes, my name is Tommy Mohammed. Prior to changing my name, I was Tommy Ware.
Mhm.
And when I enrolled in the University of the Pacific, I enrolled under the name of Tommy Ware, W-A-R-E.
That's interesting.
And I changed my name in the mid-90s to Muhammad. I became a Muslim
Mhm.
by faith. And I changed my name from Tommy Lee Ware to Tommy Muhammad.
All right.
And but CIP is dear to my heart,
Mhm.
community involvement program, because without the community involvement program, I don't think that I would have been able to attain a college degree, not just one, but two college degrees
Wow.
through the community involvement program, CIP. And those of us students during that time, during the 60s, Black and brown students, we were, in Stockton, as far as college, Delta was as far as we could go.
Mhm.
And at that particular time, Delta was right across the street, like on the block, right across the street from the University of the Pacific. And every time we took our break, you could look over at U.O.P. and see U.O.P, even mingle with some of the U.O.P students. And we wondered, well, were we going to go to college after 2 years at Delta?
Yes.
Where could we go? There was nothing, and there was no university or state college in the area. Matter of fact, I did transfer to San Francisco State, but I didn't even do a semester there because we had already been battling and banding to attend the University of Pacific. And when I went to San Francisco State, I went to play football. But then when I guess I was there maybe a month because I got a call from BSU and Mecha. The team called and said, "Hey man, we got the battle. We won the battle.
Mhm.
The U.O.P. We're gonna be attending the University of Pacific. Come home." And I turned around and I went home, man.
That's
And it was all there. It was everything that we fought for, all the demands. It was, I left about 2 weeks, 3 weeks ahead, and didn't know if we were going to win or not. The president and the administration said they were going to talk to our presidents and the students that were, the leaders, if you will, of our demand group. And when they won, they called me, and I was most really excited. And most youth today probably would say, "Man, why didn't you stay in San Francisco?"
yeah.
But it wasn't about that. You know what I'm saying? It was about my education. That's what it was about. And I had a wife and two daughters at that particular time. And so I came back home, moved my family. We packed up and left right away and came back to Stockton. And what was CIP was born. And the best program that a lot of us in Stockton at that particular time in the mid 60s, early 70s, best thing that happened to us than Christmas. It was great. So I'm
Well,
indebted to CIP and the University of Pacific for opening the doors for us in the South Side of Stockton,
mhm.
Black and the Chicanos. I almost said Chiquitas. But it was really an exciting time. We were very happy to be able
Well,
to attend the University of Pacific. and named the program C.I.P. We didn't want no other program. We wanted a program that recognized, that reflected our communities, you know, and that's why it was called Community Involvement Program. We were all students from different parts of the community, South Side, East Side, and Black and Chicanos, and you know, and it was a big thing for us. We all worked together, you know, and we demanded together, you know, NETCHA and BSU, and you know, so you know, it was a great experience. And every time I get this opportunity, I get wired up, and I really get emotional about it. So, you know, don't you know, just give me your questions, man, because I'll talk. I'll just be
All right. So that's well, first and foremost, I would like to thank you for that really nice introduction, because you gave us a good like synopsis of just who you are, you know, and also a little bit about the program and just your the flame that you possess for like the appreciation of CIP. Well, we will start with the first question and move on progressively to the last. There's only 7 questions in total. So my first, there's only 7 questions.
Okay.
Yeah. So my first question would be, what is your background? For instance, when were you born and where are you from? And what's your personal upbringing as far as like your childhood and your adolescence?
My background is I'm from Arizona. Matter of fact, I'm from Yuma, Arizona, right on the corner of right on the Colorado River, right on from Mexico. I could walk across the bridge from Yuma to Mexico. So I went to school in Arizona, my elementary years in Arizona, and I was a farm worker. I picked cotton. Arizona, the desert of Arizona, Phoenix, Yuma, Casa Grande, they had large cotton fields.
Wow.
And large cotton industry. So my family were cotton pickers. We lived in tents, and then we had nice homes. Finally, in 50, 57, 58, we began to move up. My dad got into the construction business, and not business, but working for a construction company, and things began to change for us. And then finally, my dad wanted to move to California. And we moved to California, and we came into the Central Valley because there was still farm work. We did a lot of, in Arizona, they had a big cotton industry. And I picked cotton in Arizona through the summer. And one spring, I went to Flagstaff to stay with my auntie to pick grapes, not grapes, I'm sorry, oranges, oranges, the orange industries, and lemon and orange. And then finally, my grandfather said, we can go to California, and we can do a lot of harvest work. And we moved to California in 56, 57.
And how was that, just to go a little bit deeper in detail about that harvest work and working in that in the fields, how was it for you? How was that for you? And what were some of the struggles that came, or experiences that you learned, or lessons that you learned from that?
Oh man, I learned to value hard work. I learned to value hard work. I learned to value keep my mind on the business, on my business. You know, take care of me, take care of my mom, take care of my brothers and sisters, work with my dad. You know, I was a farm worker. I did a lot of work. Not only did I pick cotton, I was an irrigator. My dad was a master irrigator, and I worked with him as an irrigator, depending on how much land, how many acres we got. We got huge farm acres, and so I had to learn the science of irrigating. And then finally, my grandfather came and told my dad that if we moved to California, we can make a lot more money than we did in Arizona. And we came into California, I lived in a black migrant camp in California, Wesley, California. I don't know if you're familiar with that area.
I'm not very familiar,
Oh,
but
that's right. It's right just south of Stockton.
oh, okay. Okay.
Just you go just south of Stockton, and it's next the closest town is Modesto.
Yes.
And so you get on 99, I think it is, and just go all the way down, go like you're getting ready to go to LA, and you'll see a sign that say Wesley, California.
Mm. Well, I am familiar. I am familiar with those directions, so I got it.
Yeah. And so there was a black migrant camp there, and we moved to that black migrant camp, and worked the fields in Patterson, Modesto, all down in those areas. And then finally, my grandfather told my father we can make more money in the San Joaquin, not in the San Joaquin Valley, but in the San Joaquin County, further up. So then we moved to Stockton, and sure enough, they had huge fields in Stockton, peach fields, onion fields, apricots, grapes, and Lodi, everything. I was a farm worker.
Yeah.
There was a lot of black farm workers back in those days. That was in 57, 56, 57, 58. You weren't even born then, probably.
Yeah. And well, going deep into like since we got a good idea of your just the work that you did, how was it with your education?
Well, I wanted to go to school, and I wanted to play football. And I went to Delta College, and I enrolled in Delta College. It started my my drive for higher academics, and Delta College was right across the street from the University of the Pacific. And so my first semester, many of us students that were going to Delta, we realized, many of the black students and Chicano students, that U.O.P was right across the street. And once we finished Delta, there was no four-year institution for us to go. Matter of fact, I had gotten a little scholarship, a small invite to attend San Francisco State to play football.
Yeah.
And once we got the demand and won the fight, the struggle to go to the University of Pacific, I came back. I only spent a semester in San Francisco State, and I came back to Stockton to be able to go to the University of the Pacific. To be in Stockton, I had a wife and a baby then.
Man, I would like to interject on this point. What kind of work did you do, or activism, in order to encourage the university to establish the C.I.P program? Like, what were you involved in, or like what kind of activism did you do?
I was a soldier. I was one of those students. Back then, it was BSU, and BSU had to make the demand. So black students, all of us that was in BSU, made the demand, marched in the not in the community, kind of slightly in the community around U.O.P, which that's a very wealthy community and a Caucasian area, wealthy Caucasian community, and they didn't particularly care for that at all. Plus on campus, and the demand was, because Delta College was right across the street from U.O.P. So the demand was, why did I have to go all the way to San Francisco to go to four-year institution, Berkeley, to go to UC Berkeley? Anywhere else, when right at our doorstep was the University of the Pacific, a major university, well-renowned, and why couldn't we go there? So BSU and Mecha got together, and we made the demand. Some went to jail and some didn't. And the University of Pacific realized that we were willing to go to jail, and it was serious. We needed to go. Once we finished Delta College during those days, Delta College was right across the street from the University of Pacific. And so once we did it, 2 years at Delta, there was nowhere else to go unless you got, some kind of scholarship at UC Berkeley, San Francisco State. Those were the colleges that were near. There was no Stanislaus State then. Stanislaus State wasn't even thought about. And maybe it was thought about, but it wasn't built at that particular time. And so so that's what motivated and inspired all of us, Black and brown students. And we made that demand. And U.O.P. during that time, Delta was right across the street from U.O.P. It was only it was a street that divided us. You go down, you know how Pacific is.
Yeah.
And that street is still there, and the properties or space that covers that's on both sides of that street is how it looked back then. But then on the west side of U.O.P. by where the U.O.P. swimming pool is, you know where that is. All that road that goes by the swimming pool, that was a real road on campus. We would drive and park over there, and the pool wasn't there then. And so, when Delta College on the other side was all Delta College. So the question was for Black and brown students were like, once we finished Delta, why in the hell couldn't we just walk across the street and go to U.O.P.?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All of us wasn't getting, I got a little, financial aid, got kind of like scholarship at San Francisco State to play football. But really, I had a wife and a child, and I really wanted to go do my 4 years at a 4-year institution. That's why I went to San Francisco State. But then once I found out that we were going to fight that struggle for U.O.P., I came back. And everything was going good. And we eventually won that battle. And and that's how came into U.O.P. My wife at that time, my young wife, we both were C.I.P. students. We had 2 children. We both we were, 19 and 20, 21 years old. And we went to U.O.P. and got our degrees. But it was made by a demand, not just by Black students, but the BSU and MECHA came together. And it was kind of one of the first time that we pulled all our efforts and our resources together for one major fight, because we had the same issue, and many of us was coming from the same community, from the south side of Stockton, east side of Stockton. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of us were migrant workers, not migrant, but we were farm workers. We worked in the fields, cutting onions, picking peaches and tomatoes, and cutting grapes. And then there was a handful of Filipino students as well. And we finally all students of color finally all came together, organized ourselves, BSU, MECHA, and the Filipinos just joined us. And we all came together, and we made it, and we said, we're gonna make a demand. And we made a demand, and we start proving what we will do. Yeah. And eventually, the president of the University of Pacific, I forget his name right now, he finally pulled the administrative staff together to meet with us, to talk with us, and those that were leading us. And this young lady, Gloria Smith, and Brian Galasco, they were really hardcore. And Reverend Booker Guyton was a great supporter, because he was our counselors over when we were at Delta. And so he was able to, so we had a good group. We had some real strong people. And on top of that, again, Delta is where BSU really developed, and MECHA really developed as the militancy and the nationalistic approach to everything that we were about as young people then was alive, Black and brown. Matter of fact, that's the way we saw each other. We spoke that way. And that was part of our language, Black and brown, Black and brown. Everything was Black and brown, And so eventually U.O.P. did not want us to to come through, start coming on campus with those kinds of, because it was right across the street. So if we were gonna attack anything, it was gonna be U.O.P. And when we made the move to make that demand, they responded to it.
Mm-hmm.
They responded because they realized that we were very serious. Several people did go to jail, but they got right out. The university really did a good job of, once they realized that all those Delta College students that were coming from the south side of Stockton, the east side of Stockton, were going to make it, and it was going to make that demand and was going to stick to it. If we all went to jail, we were all going to jail. One went to jail, we were all going to go to jail. And so they realized that we meant business, and little by little, things began to change. It didn't take long. It took not even a semester. Maybe a semester, maybe a good semester. They realized it got really real, and they couldn't do anything about it. Well, they could, they brought law enforcement on campus and stuff, but it was going to continue.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to continue. So finally, the president, can't think of his name right now, and the administration agreed, and they met with us, with the Black and brown leadership, student leadership, and we had a big meeting, and the C.I.P. Community Involvement Program was born.
Well, that's a very enriching and very powerful story, especially from someone that experienced it firsthand. Well, and that brings me to the third question, because after C.I.P. becoming established and after you moved back to Stockton from San Francisco to attend at U.O.P., how was your C.I.P. experience? Like, can you tell me?
Man,
Like,
it was great. It was great, because a lot of us, we didn't think we were university. We had the university level academic ability.
mm-hmm.
Again, we were all mostly all of us were students of color, Black and brown, really more Black and brown than Filipino.
Mm.
And all of us, all the students, pretty much, I shouldn't say all, but a large percentage of the ethnic students, Black, brown, Filipino, were from agricultural families working in the fields and what have you.
Yeah.
And then there was another group that was, lower middle class families that were African American, Black, and mostly African American and Black. And once MECHA and BSU was formed and developed, that's when everybody began to realize that these students are serious.
Mm-hmm.
BSU and MECHA came together. That was the first time we all came together as as clubs on campus. And it was a good thing. It was a good feeling, because and we were all 90% of us were from the south side of Stockton.
Mm-hmm.
From the Sierra Vista area, Conway, Moorfield, you name it. All in the Central Valley, was Black and brown, particularly Stockton. Mm-hmm. And so we went to Edison and Franklin, and so we knew what we had to do academically. We knew we had to have academic skills to be able to go to the University of Pacific. So it did a lot for us in terms of once we made the demand, we realized what we had to do. Mm-hmm. We had to get down with it. Then now that you made the demand, you got to be ready for those professors, those that the academic of having professors that were PhDs, doctorate, and almost a new language, a whole new culture evolved, developed, presented to us, and it was great. Mm-hmm. And we overpowered it.
Yeah, definitely.
And we graduated, and we, you know,
Mhm.
is
And
it-
and actually, I like that you mentioned that after well, the word graduated, and that makes me want to ask, how was life after graduating? Like, what did you personally pursue after graduation?
oh, after graduation, you know, for your area that you majored in,
Mhm.
um, we had a program. U.O.P developed a program to help us, with job interviews or job companies that were looking for hire students that were graduate students, BA degree, master's degrees in this certain areas, certain areas. So we went, the University Pacific, we had a kind of like a jobs program, assisted us, worked with us, worked with all the students, and we found work, professional employment. And the teacher corps was developed. A lot of students were ended up being teachers in Stockton Unified School District, county jobs. Just things opened up in terms of employment, professional positions, you know, um, um, in the community.
Yes.
Versus most of us came from, not migrant. We were all migrant farm workers. I was black because they had a black migrant camp in Wesley, which I worked and lived in that camp, and they had, they had Mexican camps, some Filipinos on the islands, so we all worked in the farm labor industry.
Yes.
And so not that we didn't know how to read and write, because we went to Edison and Franklin and some to Stagg. You see what I'm saying? So we were all skilled academically to a certain degree, and we proved ourselves to be a capable students in the University of the Pacific, which is a major Ivy League white institution. And we proved to the university and to the students there too, that we were as skilled as they were. And
Yep.
on top of that, we had another side of us that they didn't know anything about. We were all, for example, Black and Chicanos, or a lot of us worked the fields, the agricultural industry, canneries and the fields and farming, and Filipinos. That made a big difference. At the same time, some of our best students, our top students were scientists. They had algebra, trig. We weren't just farm workers, which was a surprise to U.O.P. They were really, that's how the C.I.P. was born. I mean, it realized it had students that not only had all kind of life experiences and completely different than the students that were at the university. The average white student at the University of Pacific were wealthy, from wealthy middle class, upper middle class families. Matter of fact, some very wealthy, really wealthy families in the Central Valley, and even out of the state of California, came to the University of Pacific, private institution, private university at that time. And so for them to open their doors to students here in Stockton, again, there was a demand. They did not want that. They didn't want that to happen. They didn't want to see that happen, because once we moved on the campus, when I say moved on, not lived on campus. Once we went to campus to make the demand and go around that tower and the president and do it on the campus in different quarters and what have you, they saw that we were very serious, and we wanted to go to school. And they developed that program, the Community Involvement Program. And it's still there today, thank God.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah.
And And
And
the,
some great people came out, graduated out of that program and became very, very well renowned in America, um, in Stockton and in America,
Mhm.
you know.
And that brings me to ask you, just really briefly, is there any advice you would give to current CIP students about not giving up, about persevering for their goals? What would you
Oh,
want?
hey, and you said, I mean, you, yes, because it's not easy.
Mhm.
University of Pacific were not, that wasn't an easy, um, you know, uh, journey. I'd never been in an institution, Edison High School, that was about it, Delta Junior College was I'm glad I went to Delta Junior College for 2 semesters,
Yeah.
because it kind of developed me and a lot of us, to be prepared when we did when we did win the battle for U.O.P. We knew that the curriculum and the whole experience as a student in upper grad and then at a major university, like the University of Pacific, you had to get down and really work
Mhm.
and study, and not only that, speak English, write in English better than you were writing. You know what I'm saying? Being able to express yourself on paper, and at that time in typing. It was just your skill level was at another whole level.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
we grew to another whole level. Again, when you were a lot of us, black and brown, our families we worked in the fields, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And that didn't mean we didn't read or went at Edison and Franklin, and we went to school. But not only did we go to school at Edison and Franklin, but we went to work after we got out of school. You go to the onion field, you go to the carrot field, you go to the peach field, and then if you don't go to school at all that day, guess what? It was no thing about I don't feel good, or you don't feel good to go to school. Okay, that's all right. Come on, jump in the car. You're gonna go with me. We're going to the peach field today. We're going to the carrot field. All of a sudden, you feeling real good. Okay, I won't do that again.
Yeah,
you
that's
know
true.
that it was a different kind of life.
Mhm.
There was no Wendy's and
Yeah.
those hamburger joints. There was one hamburger joint called Huck's, and there was predominantly white boys and girls in Huck's. And then everybody went to Huck's to get hamburger and fries, and that was about it. Other than that, you know, you had money, you could go buy food, buy sandwiches at Sandwich Shop at U.O.P. It was areas around there that sold food,
Yeah.
but not like what students have today, with everything they have today. And so it was really quite an interesting period.
Yeah.
And being a migrant farm worker, and see when you use that term, most people think they're only talking about Mexicanos, and particularly Mexicanos that came from Mexico, and but no, it wasn't just Mexicanos, and Filipinos. And then when they think of Filipinos, the Filipinos, if they know the agricultural industry, Filipinos did a lot of the work on the islands,
Yeah.
and the grapes on the islands. And why did they do? Why? The question is, why did they do all that work? Now, I did get the chance to work in the grape fields on the islands. I hated it because that dirt eat the hell out of you. Have you
Mhm.
ever worked in the fields like that on the islands?
No, I mean, I've worked in the fields, but never anything like crazy.
You heard about the islands and the dirt. You couldn't even smoke a cigarette on the dirt. That's how rich the dirt was. You had to have, you couldn't, don't be thumping your cigarette out, just thumping it over there. And when it hit that sand, the sand is gonna kill it. No.
Wow.
You can set that sand on fire.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how rich the dirt was. That's how rich that dirt was. They call it, oh God dang it, my mind, I'm talking too fast.
Well,
It was,
Mr. Muhammad, our meeting is going to end in 1 minute.
okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it's gonna end in 1 minute, and I don't want to just end the
you got another question then, right quick?
I can, because it's gonna the Zoom session is gonna close off immediately.
All right.
But I will send your son any details or any questions,
Okay.
because I'll probably only had one question, but for this meeting, we'll conclude it because it's gonna shut down literally like in 30 seconds. But
Okay.
I want to say that I appreciate your time, and I appreciate everything you shared this session.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well, U.O.P is a great school to go to. Take advantage of C.I.P program. I will leave you with that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Take advantage of the C.I.P program. It's yours. Okay. What's your name again?
Luis.
Luis.
And this concludes our interview.